Hello and welcome back to Profile Shots. I'm your co-host Landon Muonio.
And I'm Bradyn Petrek.
Today we're here to talk about Akira Kurasawa's Yojimbo and Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars.
So, quick synopsis of both the plots. I'd like to start with a quote of Kurasawa. He says, "I loved that movie," referencing A Fistful of Dollars, "because it's my movie." And you can kind of see that between the two plots here. They're very similar. The idea for both of them is that there's like this wandering stranger kind of that rolls into this town, and there's two kind of crime families. First he goes to one, he kind of pits it against the other, and he goes to the other, pits it against them, and then kind of caught in the middle of all of this is this kind of like just a genuine family that he helps save later on, and all of this kind of leads to a large fight towards the end. That's kind of the quick spark notes of the two movies.
Fistful of Dollars was shorter, but it seemed longer. Yojimbo is really funny, and I just got lost in the world that Yojimbo created, that Akira Kurasawa created. The sets I feel like are more lived in. There's more characters in that town, and Akira Kurosawa is more inclined to burn down entire sets. And there's that I don't know if you've seen that if you remember the scene where there's those sake barrels and they're puncturing them. I'm sure there wasn't sake in there, but then all the sake is pouring out, flooding the whole area. That probably helped the fire burn even better. Yeah. But contrasted to Fistful of Dollars, where it's all adobo, right? Adobo houses that really don't burn. There's a big mansion that gets caught on, two big mansions, and one of them gets caught on fire. But Sergio Leone doesn't really want to destroy his sets.
No.
I think
he's saving a lot of money.
That's true.
Kurasawa just destroyed stuff, which I liked. I thought it brought a lot more character to like the world they're building if everything just seems much more fragile.
It's very gritty, very bloody, and that willingness to destroy, it amplifies that, right? So blood in Fistful of Dollars versus blood in Yojimbo. I think the blood in Yojimbo's the squibs are a lot better. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Because the blood in Fistful of Dollars is like, okay, that's very bright red.
That's ketchup.
That's it. That's ketchup. Or some sort of like really watery dye.
Yeah.
I feel like it would congeal more.
Yeah.
I feel like it does congeal more. It's like lots of more bruising, and people get more battered in Yojimbo. And I think that's also swords. That's probably a big reason why too, because sword versus a gun, right? You got to sharpen a little knife to throw it at the guy's arm. You gotta be more involved in a fight versus Fistful of Dollars with the guns. You've got a guy who has a quick shot Winchester, right? Yeah. Who blam blam blam, you're done. All you have to do is have his stunt doubles falling over.
Yeah.
And there's a different sort of brutality. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I feel like when they draw that distinction between like a gun and the sword, it's so vast. Like that is like water and fire. But when you take it in the other movie where it's the freaking pistol versus a Winchester, that is so like, it doesn't build that difference. So it just feels so much more intimate when there's swords, so much more violent and much more intentional than when you do it with like a loaded firearm that you can shoot from a distance. Like it doesn't take much brains.
That's like, it's honor too, right? It's the honor of using a sword versus like the quickness and almost dispatching of people with a pistol that he's now learned to quick fire from the hip, which like sharpening a knife and then learning how to throw it against a metal or like a wooden stake, right, in a cave, that takes a lot more grit, right? Thinking, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a big metal piece underneath my poncho. Then I'm going to learn how to shoot really, really fast. Okay, yeah, that's great. But I think learning how to throw a knife is probably takes a lot more skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did that uh, metal piece even work? If he was getting shot, because we've seen from the knight's armor that he can shoot, that one dude can shoot pretty accurately, like in the same spot. That I'm sure that the metal would eventually go through, and pierce.
Even so, like the force, just having that plan, like I don't know, put a piece of metal against your chest and have somebody punch it. You're gonna feel that, and he falls down like the first time, and you think he's dead, and he just like he limbers back up, and then the second time but by like the third time he's just like tanking it and walking directly at him.
He's at the barrels too.
Yeah,
he's just kind of like laying there. He's like, oh, I'm completely fine. Doesn't he take it off though too? He rips his poncho off, takes the metal plate off, and I'm like, okay, he's probably got other guns to use. Why are you taking your body armor off? But this is nitpicking.
That's aura farming.
That's true.
He started on the other side of town too to walk in, give him the maximum amount of time to shoot him.
The entrance of Yojimbo versus the entrance of Clint Eastwood. I love the Yojimbo entrance a lot more because the entire town's destroyed, and there's this like plume of smoke, and as Yojimbo walks through, the smoke like clears around him. I like that a lot more. Yeah. Than Clint Eastwood throwing some dynamite and then as a distraction, then kind of shuffling and sneaking in, and then just standing in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What do you think of the dubbing?
Oh, the dubbing. See, when I first watched it, I couldn't even tell it was like, I thought it was just the site I was using.
Yeah.
The added after. I don't know. It's so funny. When we were talking about it initially, like the idea that all the actors we talked about them speaking in Italian, and then Clint Eastwood would be the only one speaking English, and then they dubbed it over in English. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of crazy. It seemed very inefficient for what they're wanting to go for.
I think the movie like is hurt from the dubbing. It makes it more awkward to watch. The way that the family escapes though.
Oh yeah.
And then they all bow, right? It was interesting to see for me to see that like the Japanese way of saying thank you and bowing versus the American way, or I guess you could say that like Mexico, like southern, Mexico, Southern America way of like just being like, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, and then dashing off.
Exactly.
No, I felt a lot more intentional with the thanks within Yojimbo.
Yeah. I think that intentionality though is uniquely Japanese. Yeah. Because Yojimbo cares for the community, unlike Clint Eastwood. Yeah. He just kind of wants to make money. In Fistful of Dollars, he says, "Oh yeah, I've driven both the gangs out, and the government's going to be here eventually to clean up the mess and take all the money. I gotta leave. I've made my $500. I gotta get out of here." All the characters are the same. Yeah, all the characters are the same. You've got big 7-foot-tall henchman, a guy working in a bar, coffin maker, the rival gang member's son, the mother, the head goon, where he's got the Winchester or the pistol in Yojimbo. These movies are so similar, and it's a ripoff.
It is a ripoff, and it's a crime that he didn't get any feature, like any credit for what he's done.
So those are all the similarities and differences between Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars. And you can really see how Sergio Leone borrowed so much from Akira Kurasawa, one-for-one shots, plot details, and characters. And I think that these two movies are a great example of the influence that Japanese cinema has on Hollywood and American movies.